Troublemaker, a Dave Brandstetter mystery. Book 3. Author, Joseph Hansen. Publisher, Open Road Media. Narrator, Eric Ost. This one is dedicated to Ken Thompson. Chapter 15. But Hollywood traffic on a summer weekend night was geared down. There was no way to get through it fast, and a 3-block log jam up that had lasted through 10 minutes of signal changes. He got disgusted. He left the car idling in the middle lane near La Cienega and Santa Monica and closed himself in a telephone booth. It stood against the curved stucco wall of a topless dance place. It smelled of marijuana smoke. He dug in his pocket and the coins were wrong. Many yards off, on an opposite corner, a Raxol drugstore promised change. There wasn't time. The signal went green. Horns began to blare behind the abandoned Electra. He dodged back to it. It was his turn at last, and he made it across Santa Monica. But the achievement meant nothing. Down the long slope of Restaurant Row, the traffic clogged forever. When, after another 5 minutes, he reached a side street, he swung west toward Robertson. He'd phoned from the apartment. He sat on the bed, sweating, working his way out of his jacket, tugging down the knot of his tie, and listening to the phone buzz, busy at Tom Owen's end. He tried twice more, hopeless. He lit a cigarette and dialed operator. His shirt was soaked. The night breeze through the big empty rooms made him shiver. "Look, I'm trying to reach this number," he gave it, "and it's busy. Can you break in on the line? It's urgent." "1 moment. I'll give you the supervisor." The supervisor took more than a moment, and when she did get around to him, it didn't help. "I'm sorry. That number is out of order. I'll report it." "Oh, no," Dave said. "Look, the party's an invalid. Maybe he knocked the phone off the hook." "I wouldn't be able to give you that information," she said. "You'd have to call repair service. They can check it for you. Dial 611. He dialed it, and it rang a long, long time, but they checked the phone. "It is off the hook, sir. If this is an emergency, we can use a howler on it." "Great," Dave said. "Make it a loud howler." "They're not very loud," the girl said. Whether it was or not, Tom Owens didn't seem to hear it. "No one answers," the girl said. "All right, thanks." Dave hung up and bent to twist out his cigarette in the ashtray on the floor. Hell, he'd only wasted time. What good would it do to warn Tom Owens someone was coming to kill him? He couldn't move from that bed. Dave dialed another number. "Los Santos Police Officer Zara speaking." Officer Zara didn't sound more than 16. "Lieutenant Yoshiba, please." Dave Brandstetter calling. "It's an emergency." "I'm sorry, sir. He's not here. Matter of fact, I'm the only one that is here. If you're calling about the trouble in Paradiso." "I wasn't." "What's the matter?" "It's the college kids again. They're trashing the mall again. They've occupied a bank. They're burning it, and somebody's sniping at the police. Everybody's there." He sounded wistful, left out. Well, look, Officer Zara," Dave said. "I have reason to believe there may be an attempted at a homicide. The Thomas Owens house." He gave the RFD address on the coast road. "Can you send somebody? The man's alone there, laid up in bed, legs in casts." "He hasn't called us," the boy said. "He doesn't know the danger he's in," Dave said, "and while we're talking—" "Okay, sir, I understand. I've written down the address. I'll try to radio a car. Send them out there. He's alone like that. No nurse." "No nurse? The whole family's away tonight." "What about dogs?" "Those people out on the dunes, they usually have a dog." "Right," Dave said. "They've got dogs." The big dog lay just inside the open front door. It lay on the polished floorboards among splinters of glass. A panel had been smashed out of the door. Dave crouched by the dog. The light was poor. It came a long way from the hanging wicker lamp above the wicker furniture at the room's far end, but it was enough to show him a puddle of drying blood under the dog's head. He touched the motionless body. It had begun to lose heat, and the cool beach night begun to stiffen. The fur had lost its sheen and felt coarse. There was no sign of the other dogs. A breeze sighed across the sand outside. There was the splash and semblance of surf. Somewhere in the house, as in a ship, a beam creaked. He stood, and then he heard it, the sound of a voice. It came from beyond that far bulkhead, insistent on a single pitch. No shift in tempo. It sounded not quite sane, but he knew the voice. If he'd had any doubt about whom he was chasing out those red taillight streaked miles of freeway and coast road after escaping the tangle of city traffic, the doubt had been wiped out by what he'd found a minute ago, leaking oil on the clean planks of Tom Owen's otherwise empty carport. It was a battered 10-year-old European Mini. The slated engine cover at the back was still hot. Now he pried off his shoes and went quietly along beside the great painting under the gallery. Toward that edgy voice, the boxy hall. The other side of the bulkhead was dark below, but light came out through the tall opening above Tom Owen's closed door. It went high into the roof peak, windowed by dark triangles of glass. The voice went up there too, and banged back down to Dave in the dark. It makes you want to vomit, doesn't it, just hearing about it? Well, I lived it. 2 years of it, 5 months, 11 days, and you know why? Because once you get busted, they never leave you alone. They watch you all the time, and they grab you. Make a mistake, nobody else would notice, and they grab you. Also, you have a record. You can't get a job. Vern, Tom Owen said patiently, I'm sorry. Why didn't you tell me all this the other day? Hand me the phone. I'll get you a job right now. It's too late. Anyway, that's not what I wanted from you. I asked you for all I ever wanted from you that summer when we were 17, you remember? At the Cahuenga Park pool. To go on the way we had been. Tommy, the way you started us. Don't forget, it was your ideal. You were the oldest. Vern, it was a long time ago. Forget it, all right? Yes. What I did to you was heartless, and I'm sorry, but... Vern, I was only a kid. Sure you're sorry, Taylor sneered. With my gun at your head, anyway. Do you think sorry can wipe out 17 rotten years? Hell, I didn't care if you took up with Nofziger and those guys with cars and rich parents. Even when they called me fag. Even when you did, all I asked was for you to save a little time for me. Owens interrupted for a minute. They both talked at once, and the echo of the high boards of the hall broke the words, and Dave couldn't understand them. Then Taylor was saying, I smell like a flophouse. Cheap bars, public toilets. I can't get clean. And you came out all shining. Let me tell you about this gun. I bought it on Main Street in L.A. from a black guy who hustles TVs. Not machines. Hustlers that dress like women. He sold it to me for $5. I walked out of the Ricketts Hotel after I saw you on the lobby television. I bought a gun to kill you with, Tommy. Dave put his hand on the doorknob. Owen said, But you didn't use it. Instead, you drained brake fluid out of the car, hoping I'd crash. Then you took the bolts out of the deck rail, wanting me to fall. I remembered bullets could be traced, Taylor said. But you didn't die. It would have been on the news. It wasn't. So I came back with the gun at night. I waited out on the dunes because the lights were on, and then I saw you leaving. Only it wasn't you. Just that boy in your clothes, only I didn't know that. It was too dark out there. He got in a car on the road, and that big man kissed him, and I thought, I'll kill them in bed together. Can you understand that, Tommy? He was killed with his own gun, Owen said. I dropped mine, Taylor said. He heard it. That was why he came out, and I ran at him, and... So you haven't used your gun, Owen said. You can't be traced. Why don't you just... Not shoot you? Taylor jeered. Sorry, but I have used it. Tonight. There were a lot of people around that old house. A kid outside the windows with a tape recorder. A big man in a cowboy hat. When he came, the kid ran up in the trees where I was. so close I could smell him sweating. He went after the big man, but there was someone else. A little man with a broken nose. When I ran back up to my car, I almost bumped into him, and he was at that Mr. Marvelous contest tonight. He saw me, and he went straight to tell that insurance man, Brandstetter. I had to kill that little man. Tommy.
But now Brandstetter knows, Owen said. Vern, it's time you gave up. It's all going wrong.
It always did, Taylor said. For me, everything always went wrong. It didn't seem so bad when I saw in the paper how they were holding that boy for murder. I knew what he must be to you. That's why I came to see you that day. Tommy, to watch you crying for him the way I used to cry for you. But he's out. I saw him tonight. I'd have known he wouldn't stay locked up. You had money to get him out. Money can buy anything. There was only one way somebody like me could hurt somebody like you. Kill you. And tires rumbled heavily on the driveway planks. What's that? Taylor asked. My family's come home, Owen said.
You can still get away, Vern. Go out by the stairs, just around the corner, out there in the hall.
No, Taylor said. I'll kill them all. They mean something to you. I never could, but they do. Maybe I won't even kill you, Tommy. I'll kill them instead, and you can live the rest of your life knowing you caused it. Rubber-shod footsteps made the floor shake. Dave let the doorknob go, flattened himself against the dark wall. The door opened. Taylor moved toward the living room. Dave moved after him, silent, swift. Far off at the foot of the stairs that spiraled wooden down from the gallery, a door opened. Brightness streamed out. Then the long shadow of Larry Johns in the serape and hat.
Tom, he called. Whose car's that up there? What's the matter with Hans and Fritz? They're out on the dunes and they won't come.
He broke off, ran to the dog, knelt.
Barney! Barney!
He touched the dead body, drew his hand back.
Oh, no, no!
He looked up, and Taylor lifted a little nickel-bladed revolver. Light slipped orange along its barrel. Dave struck Taylor's arm down the gun, spat fire, and a bullet drew a groove in a polished floor plank. Taylor half turned. Dave chopped him across the windpipe with the edge of a hand. The gun clattered away. Taylor dropped, making a hoarse, rasping sound, clutching his throat, trying to take bites of air. Larry John stood by the dead dog, staring, while Owens called from the next room.
Larry, are you all right? For Christ's sake, Vern, what have you...
It's all right, Larry shouted. He came running down the room to Dave, careful to sidestep the gun. He eyed the gun as if it were a snake. He looked uncertainly at Dave.
Isn't it all right?
As it's ever likely to be, Dave said.
Where did you disappear to at the big barn?
The men's room, John said. Sorry, Dave grunted. He touched the twisting, gasping Taylor with a foot. Find something to tie him up with. He may be on our hands for a while. The police are busy tonight. He retrieved the gun, dropped it into a pocket. I'll phone them again.
Brandstetter?
Owens called. Dave walked into the shiny plank room, picked up the phone from where it had spilled on the floor. How did this happen? He asked, and began to dial. I must have knocked it off in my sleep. It woke me, making a squawking sound. I couldn't reach it. Sorry about that. While at the other end of the line, the phone rang and rang. Dave looked at the strung-up casts on Owen's leg. They were painted with flowers, bright primary colors, kindergarten draftsmanship, love, and happy, drunken letters. Was that how you spent the afternoon, he asked, when you were supposed to be remembering someone you crossed once? Someone with a grudge against you? The taut skin of Owen's high cheekbones reddened. He gave a sheepish nod. Larry did it. He was celebrating his being back. He shook his head. Seriously, I couldn't think of anyone. There's always someone, Dave said, and Officer Zara answered the phone. A Gay Mysteries audiobooks. think it is easy to hate a label, but a face humanizes the word. So this effort is twofold: to offer comfort to those like myself that your world didn't end because you don't fit into the view of acceptable society on both sides, and in hopes of helping those with family that are LGBTQ, that it doesn't mean we are aliens from the child they once knew. Reassure them so they can maybe be supportive at the same time, being true to their values.